Nearly 20 years after the Sonics left Seattle, the team could finally be coming home. Another local school district is planning hefty budget cuts, where 80 full-time positions are on the chopping block.
It is very overwhelming right now.
Plus, a travel nightmare continues to grow. A glimmer of hope as Congress inches closer to a funding deal. And check your freezer. Trader Joe's expanding an urgent recall, saying some of their products could be contaminated with glass.
We had a franchise in Seattle for over 40 years. We have a WNBA franchise in Seattle right now, and there's an enormous amount of passion for NBA basketball and WNBA basketball in that market.
Nearly 20 years after the Sonics left Seattle, the team could finally be coming home. This morning, the NBA team owners voted to explore bids for expansion teams exclusively in Seattle and Las Vegas, the first massive step in bringing the team back to the Emerald City. And good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Tim Gordon. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver just wrapped up a press conference laying out the next steps in the bidding process. It's not a done deal yet, but this is the closest we've been to seeing their return since they left in 2008. So here's a look at the next steps. Now that the vote has happened, later this year, the bidding process will begin. The league will take formal bids from potential ownership groups for Seattle and Las Vegas. The Seattle frontrunner is Samantha Holloway and Kraken Ownership Group, who own Climate Pledge Arena. And interesting fact, since the arena's been open, there's been an NBA locker room just waiting in Climate Pledge.
It could be a big moment forthcoming, and we're going to be ready. If you look at the stars, maybe they're aligning.
The final approval could take place in July. Analysts expect bids for a new team could fetch upwards of $10 billion. The teams are being planned for a debut in the 2028-29 season, making it a 24-year gap since the latest expansion. Washington Governor Bob Ferguson released a statement shortly after the news saying, quote, "For 2 decades, Washingtonians have mourned the loss of our Sonics. Today's vote is a milestone in the effort to bring NBA basketball back home." And Climate Pledge, which used to be Key Arena, underwent a massive $1 billion development between 2018 and 2021. The rebuild included fully updated seating, expanded concourses, upgraded locker rooms, and enhanced broadcast capabilities. The investors made it a priority to keep the arena's 44 million pound roof up on stilts while blasting away everything else beneath to rebuild the arena. Another $50 million was committed to additional NBA exclusive upgrades. All right, taking a live look from the Rose City Skycam, where the sun has been trying to peek out all morning long. It's doing a pretty good job of it right now. Let's get a check on the forecast with Celine Stevens in today. Celine?
Hi, Tim. Yeah, exactly. The sun is shining just a little bit, but again, we still have those clouds, and there is still expected to be some precipitation here in our area in the next couple of hours. But right now, we're sitting in the mid-50s at 55 degrees, winds going at 8 miles per hour in our area. But check out Salem. There's a few raindrops on the camera. Despite the sunshine, they're seeing 55 degrees over there with their winds at 14 miles per hour. And so you'll see on our radar, again, it's very spotty right now. So again, we have the clouds, but we have some sunshine. Salem, again, was seeing some of the sprinkle activity over the last hour or so, and you can see we're having some of it head our way as well, and so that should be happening around 1:30. But temperatures right now pretty mild. We're looking at mid-50s in most areas. 54 in McMinnville. Along the coast, we're in the low to mid-50s. Aside from Astoria, they're in the 40s. But here's the precipitation I'm talking about. We're looking at Wednesday. You're going to see it right here to our west. That's going to come into our area around 1 or so very briefly. It's going to be a fast push, giving us very light rainfall, and then it's going to move east. So areas like Troutdale and Mount Hood expected to see more precipitation than us here locally. But Tim, remember, just a few sprinkles on the way, but then after that, things do turn around.
Celine. And now to an update this afternoon, and a potential deal to end the strike by 2,000 workers at Portland Community College has quickly fallen apart. PCC warns it may have to postpone spring term, which was supposed to start next Monday. The union says the college is unwilling to consider restorative pay for striking workers or letting classified workers cash out their earned PTO.
We need offers that support the living wages of our hardest working colleagues. That's the only way we can support our students.
PCC says it's offered staff a 2% cost of living adjustment in the first year and a 3% adjustment in the second, along with increased contributions to employee health care plans. Another local school district is planning hefty budget cuts. In Clark County, Evergreen Public Schools plans to slash more than 80 full-time positions. KGW's Thomas Schultz breaks down what's happening.
This is not the first time that something like this has happened up in Evergreen. It's just another round of cuts up there after the district cut its budget by nearly $20 million a couple years ago. This go round, the district is looking to save $14 million by cutting 80 positions. And at a meeting yesterday, public speakers weighed in on what they thought about all of this.
Cutting these programs doesn't just remove a class, it silences a passion that may have just started to grow.
I'm wondering how anyone in this school district can, in good conscience, be making over $200,000 a year when we are making these kinds of cuts.
Now, this plan means some associate principals, elementary instruction coaches, language specialists, and transition coaches will be cut. The fifth grade band and orchestra program will also end. School board members, though, do recognize that these cuts will hurt.
All 5 of my children participated in fifth grade band and orchestra. And
it's not just Evergreen and Southwest Washington dealing with a budget crunch. Vancouver and Battleground Public Schools, they're in the same boat as schools deal with declining enrollment, inflation, and a shortfall of state funding, both here in Oregon and as well in Washington.
Well, here's a look at some national headlines today. And new this afternoon, Tehran has rejected a 15-point proposal from the U.S. to reach a ceasefire. That's according to NBC. Pakistani officials say the proposal touches on sanctions relief, a rollback of Iran's nuclear program, and access for shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran, however, has insisted it's not engaged in negotiations with the U.S., while President Trump appeared to be already declaring victory.
This war has been won. We're actually talking to the right people, and they want to make a deal so badly.
This all comes as NBC News reports more American troops are headed to the Middle East, including more than 1,000 from the 82nd Airborne. Meanwhile, in Congress, the Senate has rejected the latest effort by Democrats to stop the war. Democrats say they will continue to bring war powers resolutions to the floor until Republicans agree to hold public hearings on Iran. Well, federal investigators now say multiple factors led to a devastating crash that killed 2 pilots at New York's LaGuardia Airport. It happened late Sunday night when a fire truck crossed the runway right in the path of an Air Canada flight that had just touched down from Montreal. Federal transportation investigators revealed Tuesday the fire truck was not equipped with a transponder. That's a device that helps air traffic controllers identify and track vehicles on the airfield. Without the transponder, controllers were relying on less precise radar data showing the general location of vehicles.
You know, the Secretary talks about upgrading our air traffic control system. We have an old air traffic control system. This is why he talks about that. We need to upgrade, but we also need to improve safety across the air. It's not just air traffic control, it's safety all around.
The NTSB chair said there were 2 controllers working in the tower at the time of the crash. She also noted that is standard for the shift that they were working. Trader Joe's is expanding a recall on products that could be contaminated with glass. The initial recall included 3 million pounds of chicken fried rice. Now the company has added nearly 10 million pounds of vegetable fried rice and other products sold in 43 states. Best Buy dates range from February to November of this year. You can throw the products away or return them to Trader Joe's for a refund. And new this afternoon, a potential deal could end the partial government shutdown and restore stability to air travel. President Trump signals he's considering a Senate Republican plan to fund all of DHS except for immigration enforcement under ICE. But will Democrats agree to it? NBC's Alice Barr explains.
This morning, hope to halt the insanity at crowded airports across the country.
It is very overwhelming right now.
As President Trump signals he's considering a Senate Republican plan to fund the Department of Homeland Security and restore TSA worker pay.
We're going to take a good hard look at it. I want to support Republicans.
The 2-step proposal would fund all of DHS except for immigration enforcement under ICE, which Democrats are refusing to put more money into without major reforms. They have repeatedly sought to fund TSA and other agencies while negotiations continue.
Republicans have rejected it every time. I think now they may be open to it.
In step 2, according to 4 sources familiar with negotiations, Republicans want to fully fund ICE through a separate reconciliation bill that doesn't require votes from Democrats, while also trying to pass limited parts of the Save America Act elections bill that President Trump has made his top priority, previously telling GOP lawmakers not to back anything that doesn't include it.
Don't make any deal on anything unless you include voter ID.
The potential shift comes amid mounting pressure from frustrated travelers, with ICE agents now tasked with helping to move security lines at some of the nation's busiest airports.
We can just pay the TSA workers and get those people to come back to do the job that they've been trained for.
All while questions remain about the ICE reforms Democrats have been holding out for.
Bottom line, reforms must make it into law.
As everyone looks for the end of the line. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.